Hey everyone, ArdrethShadow here, and after a long hiatus, welcome back to Cabin Fever. So previously, we met with Mallory, a mysterious woman who turned up quite literally at our doorstep, in a sense, caught in a bear trap. And she really started to turn the place upside down. And I guess a few things I'll say just as a preface. So, the game is on the Nintendo Switch, I believe, already. And if you buy this game, you will automatically unlock Mallory as a playable, or rather a dateable girl in Crush Crush. If you don't, well, then you can just buy her from the store that way, but I mean, considering how I'm kind of liking this game already, I mean, I would recommend getting it, so, you know, you get a free girl out of it in Crush Crush, and you get a fun game, so, you know, why not? Another thing I'd like to make note of is, so you have the gallery, right? So you have plenty of this stuff. So all the CGs, which, yeah, as you can see, there's quite a bit. If you're playing this without the uncensored DLC, then you're gonna actually be missing one scene. If you want to truly get 100%, from what I understand, you're gonna need to get that DLC. Otherwise, I mean, you can still play the game like normal, but yeah, you're just gonna be missing something here. Anyway, well, let's see, gosh, it has been quite a while. Yeah, see, November 30th. Oops, slot 7. What did I do with slot 7? Oh, apparently, I guess slot 7 was where I left off. Okay. Yeah, I still have my notes that I was taking originally. But yeah, I'm just here like... yeah, I apologize for taking so long. There's just been so many things going on with the channel. Alright. Yeah, I've been wanting to make videos, and it's been frustrating because, I mean, it was just like I couldn't. At least, not without a sort of peace of mind. I slept sound. We're off to a great start. I slept soundly that night and woke up feeling surprisingly good. The sun was shining, my body and mind were refreshed, and once again, something smelled delicious in a kitchen-y kind of way. Hey, I could get used to this, thought my brain. Mallory is good wife material. I mean, she cleaned up everything, and even after he was mean to her, she was still being nice to him, you know? I mean, come on. Mallory just seems like such a sweetheart, and you don't deserve her! Okay, no. I rolled my eyes at myself as I hopped out of bed. Like that'll ever happen. This was the start of a new routine. It had to be. Mallory was here now, and I didn't want either one of us taking advantage of the other. Yeah, I hope you don't be mean to her either. I wondered if she'd like to learn about the systems I had for setting up... I wondered if she'd like to learn about the systems I had set up for off-grid living. I definitely needed her to understand why certain things were important, like conserving water, obviously, but she might actually enjoy being involved with the work I did on the daily. Yeah, he got like really angry at her because she took a bath, and that ended up like blowing through some of his water supply. So, yeah, you know, I can kind of understand that, but at the same time, you didn't have to, like, not only barge in on her while she was in her towel, but, like, freaking yell at her and tell her off. Maybe we could share the load. She could be the sound of my Frodo.
Sam. I'm glad you're with me.
Yeah, be like some kind of a dynamic duo. My heart felt kind of bright and big at the thought of having a friend, even if for just a while. It was something to break up the mind-numbingly monotony of that sweet post-apocalypse lifestyle I'd been living. I could be an okay teacher. I taught a few online courses before for beginners wanting to learn C#. I'm probably not even saying that right. Clearly that's how much I know about programming. Teaching someone how to feed a chicken shouldn't be any harder than that. Yeah, especially since I used to raise chickens when I was younger. My grandma got me some chicks as pets. I treaded softly down the stairs and snuck into the kitchen. Some egg medley bubbled away in a skillet, and a pot of rice was boiling over. Mallory stood with her back to me, struggling to reach something high up in the cupboard.
Your pot is boiling.
My ears are burning.
Oh, you surprised me. Good morning. How did you sleep?
Oops. Oh, dang it. Well. Okay, yeah, I'm here thinking of, like, this is DDLC, and we're like, oh, well, I guess right-clicking doesn't do anything. Or... There you go. See, what am I saying, you know? She really could be, like, perfect wife material right here. She's kind, she's loving, she's beautiful. She seems, like, very fun to be around. And man, it makes me wonder how is she going to be in Crush Crush, now that I think about it. She moved back to the stove to transfer the rice off the heat. Then she picked up the skillet and gave the eggs a good toss. Man, she's like pro chef in the kitchen over here.
I slept okay. How about you?
She smiled, wiping her hands on her apron. It was my mother's apron, actually, and I was pleasantly surprised to see it. It had been tucked away in a bottom drawer and forgotten about for a long time.
Great. Your couch is super comfy, and that blanket is so cozy and warm.
Good. I'm glad.
My gaze drifted to the open cupboard behind Mallory.
Did you need something from up there?
She looked back at the cupboard and let out a nervous giggle.
Yes, please. I was looking for aspirin and I thought I saw a bottle up there, but I couldn't really reach. I didn't want to risk standing up on a chair or something with my leg.
Oh, yeah. Her leg is still injured. So, you definitely do not want to risk that. Lest you want her to get even more injured.
Is it getting more painful? I did notice a little redness yesterday, but I didn't think it was infected. Unless... Wait, you're not feeling sick, are you?
Germs, get away from me! Okay, no.
No, it's just the leg. It's a bit achy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously... She had a freaking bear trap on her leg, I mean, come on. That's gonna be hurting for a while. I motioned for her to switch places with me, keeping some distance between us while I reached up and grabbed the aspirin bottle out of the cupboard. It was still half full, yet I hesitated a moment, reluctant to share my supply. But then I could order more, along with that first aid kit I needed to replace. I set the bottle on the counter and stepped away so Mallory could take it. She smiled so brightly that dimples appeared on her cheeks.
Thank you so much. You're the best.
I pressed my lips together, trying not to smile. I have to be edgy and be, you know, grumpy all the time. I don't know. What's wrong, lover boy? Okay, no. We were still standing too close to one another. I took a few steps back, clearing my throat.
Maybe it's time for another temperature check, just to be sure.
Yeah, but whose temperature are we going to be taking? Hers or yours? Because I bet you're, like, burning hot right now. I went to grab the scanner and came back.
Could you, move your hair?
I swear, the beeping sound sounds a lot like the program I use for screen capturing. Like, when it's starting to... Like, when you click on it to get ready to record, and it does, like, a countdown before it's like, okay, it's recording now. She lifted her bangs off her forehead so I could get a clear reading with the temperature scanner. After a few moments, the happy sound of one beep let me know she was fever-free.
Okay, you're good. But we should keep distancing until enough time has passed to know for sure.
Yep, you know, the whole 6 feet rule and social distancing and all that. Mallory nodded as she untied her apron. She then did a little whirl on her good leg and offered me a plate. Man, she really is like a pro chef. Or like, she could be a waitress.
How's this for a second attempt at breakfast?
Alright, because the first attempt at breakfast did not go over so well, and he got angry at her for that. The food looked glorious. I knew the eggs were fresh because I'd collected them myself just a few days prior, but still, what she had done with them was beyond impressive. Rough chopped vegetables and herbs gave splashes of color to the omelet, which was stuffed with steaming hot rice speckled with even more seasonings. Well, it's even smoking a little bit. Oh, I keep doing that. Yeah, look at the smoke detail. I don't know if you can tell. That is mighty impressive. The whole thing had a downright heavenly aroma. Suddenly, some good old Shakespeare came into my brain. Did my heart love till now? Forswear it, sight! For I ne'er saw true beauty till this breakfast. I thought to myself, you are a nerd. I'm a dumb nerd! Okay, no, you're not a dumb nerd. I mean, considering, like, that's kind of the same sort of humor I have, well, and you and I are in the same boat, so... Relax, I'm a nerd with you.
Well, you seem to have learned how to use the stove properly.
Oh, boy. She blushed. Oh no, I hope that I hadn't embarrassed her. I meant it as a jokey, complimenty thing. Not a, you know, backhanded insults kind of thing. You've been alone too long, I said to my brain.
Really, this is amazing, and I don't deserve it.
You don't deserve her. She's being like a perfect angel to you. But, well, at least you're learning. Oh, second breakfast. We enjoyed our breakfast at the dining room table, sitting across from each other, just like the previous night. Through the great big windows at Mallory's back, the yard looked bright and inviting.
Looks like we'll have great weather today. I was thinking of doing some work in the garden for a while. A place like this needs a lot of maintenance. 10 acres of green space, all the off-grid systems. It's a constant running to-do list to keep everything going.
Oh jeez, yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it's pretty much like your own farm here, you know, so... You gotta keep up with it.
It seems pretty amazing. Is it hard to take care of it all by yourself?
It can be hard work, but it's worth it.
Well, what can I do to help?
Oh, she wants to help, see? I looked at her, a little surprised. Okay, I guess... So, I guess what I'm gonna end up doing is... I looked at a guide on this. So, I believe there are... I can't remember if it was 6 or 8 different endings. I want to say 8. So... There are some few major choices. One of the major choices involves the bear trap. Since I left it I'm just gonna give a minor spoiler here, but I believe that is gonna lead into a bad ending. So, for anyone new to my channel, what I typically do is I try to get all the bad endings first, and then go back and do the good ending. So, yeah, I'm basically keeping track of everything that I'm saying here per save. Let me see real fast. How many did I say I had? 18. Yeah, so, yeah, I guess I'm gonna overwrite that. Maybe not the smartest idea, but, well. Okay, so I'm gonna have her stay off her feet. I don't know if this is gonna be kind of, well, I mean, I already know I'm gonna get a bad ending anyway, or at least I'm sure of it. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna kind of try to sort of, like, just, well, this isn't quite mean, this is still kind of trying to be considerate of her, in a sense, but, well, I hope you kind of know what I'm trying to say. So we're just gonna tell her to stay off her feet and relax.
You've done more than enough to help me. Anyway, with that injury, you should be resting more than anything else.
And so yeah, there's gonna be a lot of trial and error here. Once I get the first ending, I'm gonna go back over that guide again and try to pick apart which endings I've done and how to get the ones that I haven't, so... And then I'll figure out what I do for getting the true end after all that is said and done.
I have lots of books on the shelf over there if you want to just sit and read for a bit while I'm working.
I'd much rather be outside enjoying the nice weather.
Aw. See, she's just so precious.
Sure, you can totally sit on the porch and read a book.
Okay, well... yeah, he's still, like, insisting that she rests and she doesn't do, like, any strenuous activity.
Or I could come with you. You could teach me all about how you live off the land.
Yeah, I can show you how I'm basically, like, a Tarzan of the apocalypse. Okay, well, I guess maybe that choice didn't matter too much, but... Well, I'm also trying to choose pretty much like all the options that I can, just to show off all the dialogue. And plus, you never know. Some of these choices could affect the endings. I mean, considering the Natsuki route and Doki Doki Blue Skies, and just like, oh my god, that was a... Jeez. Okay, well, I don't think, well, at least I would like to hope it isn't as complicated as that, but we'll see.
We should get to know each other at least a little bit, shouldn't we?
Getting to know you, getting to know me. Okay. Yeah, and, I mean, I can definitely agree with that. I mean, he said so himself. If they're gonna be friends, you know, it might as well... I mean, yeah, they might as well get to know each other. She had a point. It had already crossed my mind that I should acquaint her with the property and the way I did things. I conceded.
Alright then. I guess you'll join me.
It was on that day I sold my soul for that smile. I thought about insisting we both mask up if we were going to be spending the day in close proximity. But I thought about it some more, and since we'll be outside with lots of space all around, and since neither of us had any symptoms, I imagined it would be fine. Man, just the various scenarios running through my mind right now. Okay, we're out in the garden. As we headed outside, I offered Mallory a jacket. She declined. I was skeptical that she'd be warm enough in her threadbare dress, but it was her call. At least the sun was warm today, and there wasn't much wind. I let Mallory lead the way through the garden. She would stop to examine all the different growing things, all the fruits and vegetables, more than enough for one person. I often had an overabundance of produce, so I would end up canning a lot of it. Yeah, all the potatoes that Mallory used up. And I mean, yeah, if it's the apocalypse, you might as well stock up on whatever you can, right? Except for those potatoes. RIP.
Oh my gosh! Are these strawberries?
Her eyes. Well, just her expression in general. And there she stood in the strawberry patch, a look of total wonderment on her face.
They look so plump and juicy, and they're so red. How did you grow them?
Well, you see, I put the seeds in the ground and... Okay, no.
They're actually the easiest thing to maintain around here. They grow like weeds. Pretty much every year I get 3 whole harvests out of this patch.
Oh, well. And, well, how many strawberries per harvest? Well, it makes it sound like a lot then.
Really? What do you do with all of them?
I make my own jams, put them in salads, make smoothies, things like that. I dehydrate some for easy snacking too.
Oh, that's pretty smart. Of course, they'll obviously last longer that way. I've never really had dehydrated strawberries before, and come to think of it, I don't even know how the process works. No, who knows, I'll probably have to look that up somewhere. Also, jam.
But I think they're best right off the bush. You're welcome to have some.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I have strawberries. I just... Well... I mean, at least, I'm not sure if they're like, quote-unquote, right off the bush, but I buy them and... Well, at grocery stores and, you know, just little boxes, containers of them, and I just have them that way. My mom used to make like strawberry shortcake with them sometimes, and I loved those. Her eyes widened. They were huge, and they were actually twinkling now. How did she do that?
I've never eaten a strawberry before. Are you sure?
Aww. Yeah, I guess keep in mind, Mallory seems to be like there are a lot of things that she hasn't experienced in the world. So, I'm just like, gosh, it's kind of sad to think like, well, you know, these are the sorts of things like some of us may do on a regular basis, but then there are people who, like, well, they've never eaten a strawberry before. Which is just like, wow.
Never? Jeez. Yeah, help yourself. Just put your index finger and thumb right behind the stem and pinch it off.
Okay. I watch her reach out and search for the perfect strawberry to pluck.
Watch out for slugs.
Oh. She paused, stuck her tongue out at me in jest, and selected her perfect first strawberry.
Oh, wow. These taste just like sunshine. I could eat these every day.
How do you know what sunshine tastes like? Okay, no.
Feast away.
I couldn't help but want to offer her everything just then. The happiness radiating off of her was, like, addictive or something.
Oh, look. This one's shaped like a heart.
I've seen a few heart-shaped strawberries in my time.
Ooh, this one here is huge. Look how shiny and red it is. It's like something out of a picture book. Oh, there's a little bug munching on that one. Enjoy your meal, little bug.
Well, it's not a slug, but I guess close enough. I smiled to myself. While Mallory chatted away, eating strawberries by the handful, I picked up my rake and started taking care of the fallen leaves that were encroaching on the garden. Mallory noticed and came over.
Can I do that?
Her smile was brighter than the sky above us.
Oh, no, that's okay. You need to go easy on your leg.
My leg feels fine. Please?
Well, how can I say no to this face? She just looked so earnest. Reluctantly, I passed her the rake. Yeah, I mean, I'd kind of feel the same way too. Like, no, please don't trouble yourself. Especially with her leg. While Mallory took care of the raking, I made my way to the other end of the garden where I worked at pulling up weeds. Pretty soon, I had a bucket almost filled. When I looked around for Mallory, I saw her standing beside her leaf pile in progress, pausing to catch her breath. Oh, I keep doing that. I felt bad for letting her take on the raking. She'd probably end up feeling pretty sore afterwards. Still, it was nice to have the help. I could already tell the chores would go quicker this way. I watched her until she finished her little break and gone back to raking. Or rather, until she spotted me looking at her and gave me a big thumbs up, which I pretend I hadn't seen, because I'm trying to be soon and edgy like that.
Do-do-do, pulling up weeds.
Wasting time pulling up weeds. Totally not falling in love with the cute girl raking leaves on my garden property. I shook my head at myself, tossing another fistful of leafy stalks into the bucket. Something about this girl stirred up my insides. It's called love, baby. Okay, no. She was like a cartoon princess. Too happy and determined. Almost too good to be real. We don't deserve you! You're too good for this world! I, for one, definitely wouldn't have been tough enough to pick up a rake with a leg injury like that. If anything, I'd have sat on my couch playing video games until it healed. So I guess I felt a feeling that was partway between admiration and total bewilderment. Because there Mallory was, her pale skin glistening as she did my yard work for me, her dress swaying and dancing around her thighs as she moved. Oh, he's already looking at her thighs. Wait, am I still looking at her? I thought he went back to weeding. Yep, apparently you're checking her out. And it almost sounds like you're kind of thirsting over her. Well, maybe not full-on thirsting over her, but, you know. I had to put an end to this distraction. It looked like Mallory was just about finished anyway, so I carried my bucket over to her.
Looking good. Good work, I mean.
Looking good. Oh yeah, the yard looks pretty fine too.
Let's move all this stuff into the compost bin.
Okay, what's that?
There it is. I showed her the bin, and as we filled it with weeds and old leaves, I gave her the rundown.
Basically, I put all the dead plant matter and vegetable waste I have into the tumbler. Since it's a sealed container, it traps lots of heat inside and helps the stuff break down. See the handle on the side? I use that to turn the tumbler so everything gets mixed together. Then, once it's all broken down, I mix it in with the garden soil. The compost gives the soil extra nutrients, which helps the plants grow.
So we're basically returning all the plant matter back to the earth from whence it came, thereby helping enrich the soil and we can grow more plants.
It's kind of like the circle of life. I save all the peels and ends from the produce I eat, turn them into compost, and use that to grow more stuff. So the garden really provides its own nutrients for the next crop of plants that grow there.
Which is, you know, very environmentally friendly and, you know, just overall very productive.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is amazing.
Honestly, everyone should be doing this. It's a big part of reducing waste.
You see? I mean, yeah, it is environmentally friendly that way. And, well, yeah, I mean, like, if I did have my own garden, whatever, I probably would think of, like, maybe something like this. But, well, at least... Yeah, I'm not really growing too much of anything right now where I'm at, so... Well... I mean, it's still something to always consider and keep in mind. I guess for the day... Or whenever the day might come that I do end up... You know, trying to grow plants or whatever.
It's like a big, friendly leaf monster. Num num num.
She fed the last of the garden waste into the mouth of the bin, then patted the top of it as though praising a good dog. You see, that's what I keep saying. We don't deserve her. She's too pure for this world. I nearly snorted with laughter. She was too pure for this world, really. For a few moments, we stood together admiring the garden. It looked so clean and healthy now. Then, with a twinge of anxiety, I noticed how close we were to one another. How closely we'd been working. But it was probably fine. She seemed healthy. More than healthy. She was handling her injury remarkably well. Was that the so-called power of positive thinking at work? Essentially, mind over matter? Oh no. Never mind, I lurched backwards, looking at her in horror.
Are you feeling sick?
No, sorry. It's just my throat is dry. I'm really thirsty.
My thirst is unbearable. Well, I mean, really, considering that they've been at work in the garden, in the sun, I'm pretty sure she is thirsty. Oh, right. We'd been working for a while, and now that she mentioned it, I felt really parched too. Phew. See?
I'll go get us some water.
I dipped inside, took a few deep breaths, and went to fill up a couple of stainless steel water bottles. Everything was fine. Her temperature had been normal from the get-go. She had no fatigue, no symptoms of the virus at all, apart from that one cough, which was justified. Still, it was a reminder that I shouldn't be letting my guard down. When I returned outside, I found Mallory staring up at my roof with one hand raised to shade her eyes from the intense sunlight. You mean almost kind of like the opening screen of the game?
What are those? They look like shields for your house.
What are those? Alright, no. I looked up at the roof where she was pointing. Are those solar panels?
Oh, sort of. They're solar panels.
Okay, that answers my question.
And they look like they could use a sweep, actually.
Yeah, I guess they kind of do. All the leaves are getting caught up in them. I've always wondered, like, how do you maintain solar panels like that? And, oh, there's a rainbow there.
Why? What are they for?
They're some of the most important things of all on this property.
They absorb energy from the sun and turn it into power for the cabin. Eco-friendly
and, you know, obviously very necessary.
What? Really?
Here. Face toward the sun and spread your arms out.
Are you gonna have her assert her dominance? Okay, no. She hesitated, then raised her arms up. Salute the sun! She closed her eyes and tilted her head so that the sun lit up her pale face.
Feel the warmth? That's energy from the sun, or as I like to call it, the nuclear furnace that sits in the sky, 150 million kilometers away from us.
Yep. And it takes about 8 minutes for sunlight to reach the Earth. So, that's how fast light travels from the sun.
The solar panels take that energy and convert it into electricity. That current makes its way down to a charge controller, which turns the current into voltage for the batteries. My computer, appliances, and lights are all modified to run off that DC voltage.
Direct current.
Oh, and the charge controller is hooked up to a battery that can store all that incoming energy. So we can still run the power for a while, even when the sun has gone away.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, sun isn't going to be shining all the time, especially when it's nighttime, and especially when it's raining, or, you know, when it's cloudy and there is no sun out. So, yeah, it's pretty much like a reservoir of power. I hope my explanation made sense. For someone who had never seen solar panels before, the concept might be a bit hard. Might be a hard one to grasp. Yeah, I don't remember the first time I heard about solar panels, but yeah, I mean, that's the general idea.
So you capture the sunshine and turn it into energy? Isn't that like what flowers do?
Yes, it's like photosynthesis in a way.
Yeah, that's one way of thinking about it.
The twinkle in her eyes had returned. She continued to gaze up at the panels in awe.
It's like magic.
Magic! Do you believe in magic in a young girl's heart? Okay, no.
If we'd had something like this where I grew up, then the citywide power outages wouldn't have mattered so much.
Yeah. Well, of course. And I guess what a fine time for me to, you know, resume the game, especially just because. But there's always been that whole debate on, like, renewable energy sources and, you know, once we don't have so much access to fossil fuels and whatever. But that's a whole discussion, you know, not, like, beyond the scope of this video and not relevant to the channel, so. But, I mean, it does kind of bring up the point, like, yeah, imagine what could be possible if, like, everywhere was adapted to such that you didn't have to rely so much on fossil fuels and you wouldn't have to worry so much about power outages like that are reliant on fossil fuels. Her smile faded a little. Suddenly the conversation felt heavy. I wanted to ask her to tell me more, but I was afraid. Yeah, especially if it's a touchy subject for her.
Give me a few minutes to sweep the leaves off the roof. Then we can go say hi to the hens.
Oh boy, the chickens.
Ooh, okay.
They're over there, just FYI, in case I happen to fall to my death or something.
Okay, Mr. Dark, edgy humor.
What?
Don't worry. If that happens, you can just bury me in the garden. My corpse will give lots of nutrients to the soil.
Oh my, he's really going all the way with this. She gasped, clearly horrified, and I couldn't keep a straight face anymore. I laughed, like a freaking psychopath.
Don't kid around like that. It's not funny.
Sorry. I'll be back in a few. You rest.
Yeah, not everyone's gonna go for that sort of dark sense of humor you got going on there. Especially just because, well, we really don't know what Mallory has been through. But from those sounded things, it hasn't been anything good. I grabbed my ladder and broom from the shed and headed up onto the roof. I swept all the leaves off the solar panels and cleaned out the eaves trough. Okay, this is a new word for me. Eaves troughs for good measure. Blah. I paused to gaze down at Mallory in the garden. Well, there's a city in the distance over there. She looked so at peace among all the plants. Butterflies had gathered nearby on a patch of wildflowers, and she was smiling at them. I didn't think I'd ever seen a sweeter scene. I looked across the distant hills toward what remained of the city. That was where Mallory had come from. I'd assumed so, but now that she confirmed it with her comment about the power outages, the thought of her living there almost hurt. Even from my rooftop, I could see how everything had fallen into disrepair. I remembered the long-ago announcement that public buildings would be closing down indefinitely. Sports stadiums, movie theaters, malls, and offices had all been shuttered. Even apartment complexes and private homes had to change. People were moved and shoveled around as fences went up, and shared spaces became inaccessible. Anything to keep people apart from each other, or at least in their own small safety bubbles. I hadn't set foot in the city in years, and looking at it now, I had no desire to ever set foot there again. With a sad sigh, I turned my back on the ghost city and climbed down from my roof. I met Mallory in the garden and forced a smile. Hi, I totally wasn't thinking of how sad it is over there and how I never want to see the city.
Ready?
She seemed so excited as we made our way over to the chicken coop. For a moment, I even thought I saw a spring in her step, but then I realized it was just her limp. Was the aspirin she'd taken wearing off already? Lousy cheap aspirin. Yeah, kind of, sort of. Well, I only had 4 chickens, but I mean, well, I still loved them. They were my pets. The chickens clucked with extra enthusiasm when they saw that I had company. When I opened the door to their fenced-in area, some of them flapped their wings furiously, sending feathers flying and making Mallory laugh.
For as long as they've been alive, I've been alone. So they're either happy for me or scared of you. Not sure.
Okay. Oh. I pulled the gate shut behind us. Mallory was already saying hello to each individual chicken, giving them compliments and asking them how they were enjoying the morning. Then she saw the chicks, and she gasped.
Babies!
Yeah, chicks are very adorable when you get them.
Did I not mention that? Yeah, they hatched a few days ago. You can pick them up if you want.
She looked up at me, her eyes doing that shimmery, sparkly thing again. I swear that there were tears there, and I had thought or hoped that they were tears of joy. Yeah, please don't be crying tears of sadness.
They're so cute! Are you sure I can touch them? It looks like they'll break, they're so tiny.
Funny. Damn it, Sad Panda Studios! Like I said, I doubt they watch my videos, but still, it's a very weird coincidence. Okay, well, funny. That was exactly how I felt about her. Because she's too good for this world.
They'll be okay. Just gently scoop them up into your hands.
Exactly. Be kind and gentle to them.
Okay.
Seriously, just look at her. And look at them. They're so small and plump and cute. She carefully held out her hands. Some of the chicks came closer, investigating her. And it didn't take long before a couple of them volunteered to step onto her palms. Mallory let out a small squeak and lifted the chicks up to her face. The chicks reciprocated with their own happy peeping noises, dancing in her hands as she stroked their golden down with a single fingertip.
They're so soft. I love them.
Yeah, and I loved my chicks a lot too. Well, and of course, when I ended up having to give them up after they were fully grown for a while, yeah, I mean, I still miss them, obviously. But, I mean, well, what could you do? Especially because, well, things became very difficult, like, after my grandmother died, and then, of course, like, my mom's health as well. There was just a lot of things going on at the time. And again, that's kind of another story for another day, beyond the scope of this video. I believed her. It was weird. I couldn't fathom loving something so easily or so quickly, but Mallory did. And I had a hunch she'd have taken a bullet for those baby chicks. Probably just to protect them and keep them safe from harm.
Oh, sorry about the smell, by the way. I'm used to it, so I guess I forget that coops can get pretty smelly.
Alright.
I don't find it bad at all.
Well, that's good. She continued to pet and play with the little chicks. The whole scene was just too precious.
Do you want to feed them? There's a bag of grain just behind you.
Well, I mean, in the CG we already have her feeding them, but she looked over at she looked over her shoulder, smiling, and gently set down the chick so that she could reach for the bag. She took out a small handful of grain and scattered it in front of her. The chicks started to eat, and soon the adult hens came to join them. All the chickens loved Mallory. They nibbled at her dress and danced around her as she fed them. The clucking intensified with every handful of grain, becoming so loud that Mallory started to laugh.
They're so happy.
And you're so happy too. I nodded.
I try to give them a good life, even if it's only a short one.
Yeah. At least that's what I've tried to do for all of my pets. Like my dog Joey. I mean, obviously, a lot of the lifespans of animals are very short compared to a human, so I can definitely say that I'm not going to be looking forward to the day when I don't have Joey anymore. My mom got him for me before she passed away. And ironically, well, it is now March 17th when I'm recording this, midnight. My mother's birthday was 3/14, so she would have been 62 this year had she not passed away. But anyway, like when I did get Joy, this more or less like the promise that I made to her and to him, because we got him from a shelter and he was like very scared of people. So, well, I take it back. He took a liking to my mom and some of the women that were walking around in the shelter, especially like some like college girls that were like, oh, look at how cute he is and whatever. But I mean, point being, he was a very nervous little dog, and I mean, he still kind of is, but he's used to me now, and unfortunately he only got to know my mom for 6 months before she passed away. But yeah, I mean, considering I have no idea what he's been through, I promised that I wanted to try and give him a better life and take care of him to the best of my ability. Especially because I wanted to show my mother that, yes, like, I do want to willingly take care of him, and to show that, you know, that she made the decision to get him for me, like, in good faith. But yeah, like I said, it is going to be kind of sad when, well, yeah, I guess I probably shouldn't have been thinking about it right now.
Huh? What do you mean?
Oh, poor Mallory. Oh no. Yeah, unfortunately. I have no idea the lifespan of a chicken, but obviously it's not going to be as much as a human lifespan. Why did I say that? Well, I guess you couldn't help yourself there. Unfortunately, Mallory obviously doesn't really know the different, or well, that, you know, animal lifespans are different from ours. And in most cases, they're a lot shorter than ours. What should I say next? Oh god, please don't. Shit. Okay, well. You would do this to me, wouldn't you, game? Oh, yep, see, it just changed, so... Okay... Yep, so unfortunately I'm gonna hate having to do this, but I'm gonna answer honestly to her. Okay, answer honestly.
Well, some of these chicks will grow up into egg layers, so that we can eat things like that amazing omelet you made this morning.
Oh. Oh. You're gonna... Well...
And others will be butchered for meat.
Yeah. Oh, well... I didn't even... See, I wasn't even thinking of that. Yeah. So basically the whole plot of Charlotte's Web. Yeah, I imagine she's just terrified now and downtrodden. She stared at me, then she looked away, and those were definitely not tears of joy in her eyes. Not anymore. She petted another baby chick, but this time her hand was trembling. I felt pretty bad in that moment. Which is exactly why I didn't want to say anything, but then... I freaking torture myself by doing all the bad options first, and it just makes me feel awful.
You take care of them from the time they're little babies like this, and then you kill them?
Oh my god. Yeah, especially when she says it like that, I mean... It's horrible, and...
It's not like I want to. It's just how it goes. I need to eat, and I can't exactly go pick up meat from the grocery store.
Meat that, mind you, is made from other animals that other people have butchered for meat. I didn't feel like there was something that needed to be explained, let alone justified. It was how people survived. It wasn't pleasant or ideal, but just like staying away from each other in order to stop the spread of a deadly virus, it was necessary. Did she not get that? Why wasn't she saying anything? Probably because she's like horrified at the idea of, we have these adorable creatures here. She loves them and they make her happy. And now you're telling her like, oh yeah, all these adorable creatures here, I'm gonna end up butchering them for meat later on, you know? And they're not even gonna get to live like that full lifespan that I was here talking about. Like, God, I wasn't even thinking. Just... Well, I guess like I said, my chicks, my grandma got for me for the purpose of them being my pets. Like, I didn't want them to ever end up being, like, butchered for me either. But then, unfortunately, I had to give them away, and they were given to some farm somewhere, and... Well, it was years ago, but... Yeah, I don't even know what would have happened to them. Obviously, by now, they're probably not alive anymore. Because it was such a long time ago.
Mallory?
I understand. I guess I just never thought about it before. It makes me a little sad.
Yeah, I mean, it's understandable.
I'll be okay, though. Thank you for bringing me to meet them.
She stood up, gave the chickens a little wave of goodbye, and left the coop. I followed her out, shutting the gate behind us. Well, I hope it doesn't change the way she feels about the chicks. Like, I mean, even if they're not going to be on this earth for so long, I mean, they're still adorable little creatures, and they make her happy.
Shall we head back inside?
She nodded as we strolled through the grass. Okay, another Steam achievement. Well, unfortunately. But like I said, considering I try to 100% a lot of visual novels and all that, it means I end up having to make a lot of these difficult choices, and I have to sit through all these bad endings, and I just end up feeling terrible in a lot of cases because I'm just here like, I don't want to make these characters sad or see them suffer, but it's kind of the curse of being a Let's Player, I suppose, trying to 100% games and do as much as you can in the game. I felt a little awkward when we went back into the cabin. There was an unhappy tension, but I didn't know if it was just me feeling guilty or something more. I tried to inject a little perkiness into my voice.
So, there was one more thing I really wanted to show you today. It's the most intricate and nerdy of all my systems, and by far my favorite.
She tilted her head questioningly.
Remember when I said I have fish? Well, it's a bit more complicated than that. The fish are actually part of a system I use to grow plants and food indoors. That way I can have at least some fresh things to eat in winter.
Oh?
It's called aquaponics, and it's really freaking cool. Come on, I'll show you.
Okay, this is the first time I've ever heard of anything called aquaponics. She smiled softly, like she was charmed by the idea. That was a relief. Yes, especially after that whole... well, you know, the whole talk about what was going to happen to the chickens and all that. Yeah, I think we need a little bit of a change of pace here.
Okay.
I led Mallory through the cabin to my aquaponics room. It was sort of tucked away, and since I kept the door closed, it was easy to miss. Oh wow, look at this. Yeah, look at all this. This is so cool. I can't exactly call it a greenhouse, but I mean, obviously you have a lot of greenery going on here, and then, well, here's the fish. I found myself oddly excited to show this to her. I felt almost proud as I opened the door, revealing the dim room on the other side.
Why is it so dark in here?
I know, the purple light is kind of strange. It's because those are grow lights. Their wavelength mimics the sun and gives the plants the specific red and blue light they need. It's a way of tricking them into thinking they're outdoors.
Ah. I see now. Yeah, I guess to kind of mimic the wavelength. Well, I mean, if you've seen... well, I guess for anyone who's studied physics and chemistry and all that, like the sunlight, ultraviolet waves, or, well, yeah, ultraviolet, UV, you know, that spectrum of things. Gosh. Yeah, I used to know this stuff, but yeah, I don't quite anymore, but yeah, basically, I see what he's doing here, so those lights specifically match up with that wavelength, and yeah, exactly. It gives them the right amount of sunlight, quote-unquote, that they need. All without having to leave them outdoors, which could definitely be beneficial, like in the winter, if you're worried about some kind of, you know, a winter chill coming to freeze the plants. You know, you don't have to worry about that here.
Not that plants can think.
Well, maybe not, but I mean, they're still living creatures. She smiled like she thought I was maybe a little bit funny, which lifted my spirits even higher. I followed her all the way into the room. It wasn't something I acknowledged often, but this was my favorite place. Yeah, I can imagine like maybe hanging out in here and just, you know, just relaxing and taking in the sights of, I mean, I know it's just plants, but, you know, just marveling, like, you know, like, say if this was my sort of, you know, my own little sort of safe space or whatever, just to admire, like, I did that, and it just feels so peaceful in here. Caring for the plants and the fish, watching them grow and change and live, gave me a feeling of connection I didn't quite get from the outdoor garden or the hens. I didn't even feel a connection like that with other humans, no matter how many forums I joined or chats I took part in or emails I sent or received. Keeping note that these are all like virtual interactions and not in person.
This is amazing.
This is amazing.
Told ya.
I know, but I wasn't expecting so many plants. You have so much food.
I felt a twinge of guilt for how upset I'd been over the potatoes she'd burned. Yeah. Like I said, he did kind of blow things out of proportion with her, at least I think so. She walked down the rows of potted vegetables and fish tanks, murmuring hello to the fish, examining the water feeding system, and the grow lights. I imagined it all through her eyes, the eyes of someone seeing something like this for the first time. It must have seemed like a mad scientist lair or something. She paused, peering a little more closely at the fish tanks, or at one of the fish tanks.
Why are there plants growing out of the tank water?
Oh yeah. Is that what it is?
Technically, they're not. They have their own water. It's just been cycled through the fish tank as well. That's how they get nutrients.
Oh, I see. Huh. Okay, yeah, I was here like... I thought that they were just randomly placed on top of the fish tank. But yeah, that's pretty damn interesting. I pointed out the tubes that cycled the water.
It's like the circle of life, kind of. I feed the fish and they produce waste, which contains ammonium. That gets converted to nitrites and then into nitrates, which the plants can use to grow.
Yep, I used to remember all this stuff from chemistry and biology. But yeah, that was forever ago.
These tubes carry the tank water up through a filter. The filter traps all the bits of waste and gunk that won't help the plants and lets the now nutrient-rich water run through and into the plant pots. It's all a careful balance, everything working in harmony. If I feed the fish and keep the filters clean, then they're able to take care of my plants for me.
Oh, I see. So then, essentially, it's almost as though by feeding the fish, you're also taking care of the plants because of this system that he's jerry-rigged up for, you know, this entire room, and, well, specifically for the plants. Mallory watched the fish swim lazily back and forth, her face filled with wonder. I grabbed the container of fish food and held it out.
Here, feed them. Just take a bit and sprinkle it in.
I smiled at her encouragingly.
Okay.
She took a pinch of fish food out of the container and gently sprinkled some flakes onto the tank. The fish swam excitedly toward the flakes, opening and closing their mouths. Mallory smiled and gave them some more.
They're really hungry. Looking at them feels peaceful.
Yeah.
I watched her watching the fish, and imagined showing her how to set up a system like this from scratch. I imagined us doing it together, planting the seeds of her favorite flower, or a special fruit she'd never tried, celebrating the first bud and the first harvest. When you're imagining doing things like this together, basically kind of sharing your world with someone else. Mallory started by asking me very suddenly,
Who taught you all of this?
That's a very good question. She was too close. I took a step back and bumped into some shelving behind me. I could feel my face warming up.
Well, my parents used to take care of their plants sort of like this when I was young. And then I taught myself a bunch more by reading, or by trial and error.
She shook her head a little, her gaze fixed somewhere far away. Maybe she's thinking about her own home life a bit.
My family had nothing like this.
Yep.
There was one grocery store in our neighborhood. We'd have to wait in line for ages, and then the shelves would be practically empty. We had to scrounge and make do with food that was either spoiled or just plain not enough.
Man.
All these systems you use. If we could have had something like this, then maybe...
My stomach felt tight. This was it. She was opening up. And obviously this is very painful for her. She was finally going to tell me where she'd come from, what kind of life she had, maybe even what she'd been doing out in the rain that night. I didn't feel ready. Why was my heart beating so fast? She looked so somber as her mouth came open, hesitant. And then she said,
I love that you wanted to show me all this stuff.
Oh.
But, what do you do for fun around here?
Okay, yeah, I mean, you really should not push her or expect her to open up about, like, everything so quickly. And well, I guess we're gonna find that out. She nudged me and gave me a cheeky little smile. Okay, so much for that idea. Yeah, like I said, just give it some more time. When everything feels right, she probably will eventually tell you more about herself, and soon after, exactly the kind of info that you're hoping for. I forced my own smile, averting my eyes.
Yeah, I know. All work and no play. Yada yada.
Yeah, it's like Jack Nicholson said, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
How about this? Let's go make some tea, get something to eat, and I'll show you my video games.
Yay! She nodded, suddenly grinning just as brightly as she had been that morning, as if the day had brought her no sadness at all. Yeah, considering all the sadness that she had. Not just like 2 minutes ago, but 10 minutes ago with the hens. She said goodbye to all the fish and went back out into the brightly lit hall. I followed and closed up the room behind us. We ended up spending most of the afternoon playing games on my tablet and snacking. When I showed Mallory my favorite retro game... Oh my... Imagine if this is Crush. Anyway, when I showed Mallory my favorite retro game, the idle clicker with just the right balance of dopamine-inducing rewards, she told me she'd played it before with her sister when they were children. Okay, so we're finding out that she had a sister. She was so excited about this, and once again her enthusiasm was infectious.
I used to hold the record for fastest speedrun of this game, you know.
Orale, we got a badass over here.
not. There's no such thing as a speedrun of a clicker game, and if there was, that record would be held by a bot.
You have a point there. And, I mean, that's kind of like one reason why I jokingly made that one quote-unquote speed run of me going through the dark one on Crush Crush. Because, yeah, I mean, at least, maybe to some extent you could speedrun the game, but considering like the idle nature of it, where you still need to wait and have things level up, you're still going to have to slow down. So by then, at that point, the only way I could see you like doing some kind of record would be if you had a bot or some kind of cheat device where you could bypass all that stuff. And by then, well, you're kind of not playing the game as legitimately as anyone else might. So, yeah, that's kind of a sort of gray area there, at least the way I see it. We teased each other like that, laughing and sharing little meaningless anecdotes, and I didn't even notice her shifting closer to me, getting more comfortable. We were too comfortable. A comfortable silence took over. Then Mallory leaned against me. She's falling in love with you. Just look at her. Too nervous to move, I looked down. Her eyes were closed. She was falling asleep and falling in love. For some reason, I let her stay there on my shoulder. I studied her. The ornate brooch she wore on her sweater dress, the cute pin she wore in her silky hair, her creamy skin and narrow shoulders, the plunging white lace bra. Oh, you noticed that. My throat tightened up. This was not okay. Slowly, with deliberate care, I slid away from her. I used a throw cushion to lower her onto the couch, trying my best not to wake her. I placed a blanket over her. She continued to breathe deeply, in and out, unmoving. According to my clock, it was only just past 7. I was surprised Mallory had fallen so deeply asleep already. She looked like she'd be there for the rest of the night. Maybe I shouldn't have let her help with so many chores, I thought. But then, I was getting pretty sleepy too. I crept into the kitchen and, as quietly as I could, I made my nightly cup of herbal tea. We'd snacked all afternoon, so I wasn't hungry, but that cup of tea before bed was an absolute must. Carefully, I carried my mug upstairs, settling in as to not disturb Mallory. It wasn't long before I was dozing off, tea only half gone. My body had been warmed by the fire, which made it all too easy to drift to sleep. That night I dreamt of the chicken coop being empty. There were only traces left behind of the hens, and their feathers were scattered everywhere on the ground. Coyotes must have spirited them away, my dream brain thought. I remember pocketing one of the feathers and walking around the woods in search of them. It was a very strange dream, unlike any other I had before. What happened here? Okay, Chapter 5, Maturation. Life is short, play video games. Okay. And, okay, well, let me just see. Okay, I think I am gonna just stop it here. I know that it's only been, well, not even as long as the first video, and I know it's been, like, practically 3 months since I last played the game, but, well, I am gonna make sure that I'm able to upload regularly again, so long as nothing goes wrong or whatever, so worry not. Anyway, so, thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys next time with whatever else I do. Stay golden, and later, folks.